Today. So I put out a video just earlier. I'm going to drop it at basically the same exact time that I dropped this video, basically explaining fundamentally why I think the stock market is set up for somewhat of a rally this week. But really, the main points were basically just, you know, rates are overbought right now. The tensions we're seeing in Israel, Palestine, that's really hasn't been as strong as we thought it would be over this weekend. And we have bullish tech earnings coming up as well, which I do believe act as a catalyst for the broader market. If you're interested in that, I'll link that video at the end of this video. But with that being said, let's talk about the markets here. So from a pure technical standpoint, we do this every week. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to this channel. I put out a video like this every single week for the market, just kind of giving my predictions for the stock market for the upcoming week. But let's talk about it. So we're coming down to this 200-day moving average at around 422, really 422, 420, 421, or around that level. This is where the market had bottoms in last week, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago. We had bottom right at this 200-day moving average and moved higher. Looks like we are going to bottom there again and likely move higher for the market. How high does the market move this week? Well, I think we get a very high confidence move back up to 430. Could get a larger move up to 436. That's possible. But just to kind of give a high confidence move, I think we move up to 431, which is kind of the next major level of resistance. It's where shares had topped out on the 29th of September. It's also where shares had bottomed in late August of last year, of this year, and June of this year as well. So past resistance past support acts as new resistance. Could happen around 431. So I think we get a nice bounce from the SPY this week. And I laid out my fundamental thesis, so I won't say that all again here. Talking purely technicals here, but let's talk about Meta. So Meta is coming down to test the 50-day moving average at around 303, which is where the stock had found some support in the past. Also, this level coincides roughly with support at around 296. Therefore, I believe this level holds for Meta. We see a move higher, at least up to kind of the prior highs here, the prior recent highs at around 328. So I think we come up to this resistance level at roughly 328, which is where shares had topped out in June. It's also where shares had topped out in October. So I think we come up to this resistance level once again over the week. Obviously, we have earnings, which will have a massive impact on the stock. Then let's talk about Google. So Google has been struggling to break through this 144 resistance level, which is where shares had topped out in April of last year. I believe we still see that level hold as resistance, but I believe we see the 50-day moving average act as support for this stock at around 136 this week. I think we get a move higher up to around 142 for the week for Google here. I don't know why it's not pulling it. So for Google here, I think we get a move up to about 142. Obviously, our earnings as well for Google. And then for Microsoft, we're coming down to test the 50-day moving average, which we tested as support last week, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago on Friday. We held this level and moved higher over the next week. I believe we hold this 50-day moving average once again and see a move higher for this stock to move into next week higher. Obviously, I think earnings come in a bit better than expected. We can see the stock move off of those earnings as well. And then we have Amazon here, which has actually just recently started to underperform the broader market. I really think that's just from weakness within the consumer. But we've seen some bottoming around 125 in the past. So this is roughly where shares had bottomed in July of this year, in June of this year as well, and in early June as well. It's also where shares had bottomed in late September and October so far. Therefore, I believe this 125 level acts as support for Amazon, and we see a move higher over the next week for this stock. And then Palantir is coming down to test the 150-day moving average, which roughly coincide. So this is also where shares had topped out in the past. So this is where shares had topped out in September of this year. Here, I'll draw this line to make it a little clearer. So It's roughly where shares had topped out in September. It's also roughly where shares had bottomed in July. So past level of support could act as another level of support here at about $16 for this stock. So I think Palantir continues to outperform the market this week, and we see Palantir move higher over the coming week. And then Tesla here. Tesla's definitely not as clean of a chart as the ones that we just called, but I do think Tesla is oversold right now. Just according to RSI, I don't think I know. Tesla is oversold according to RSI, and the past couple of times Tesla has been oversold, we've seen a move higher for the stock. So in August, we saw the stock be oversold, and we saw a move higher over the coming days. In April, we saw the stock be oversold. We saw it rally higher over the coming weeks, and then even in late December, we saw the stock be oversold, move higher in the coming weeks. So the stock has historically acted pretty well, has reacted pretty well to oversold conditions. Therefore, I believe we see the stock rally once again off of oversold conditions. Also, I believe we see this 200-day moving average act as support for this stock. Also, we've used this kind of 212, 211 level as support during our last drop in August. I believe we use this level as support once again. This is somewhat of a crucial level, as well as it's where shares had topped out in February of this year. Therefore, I believe we use this level past resistance, access new support. I believe we use this level as new support just like we did in August, and we see a move higher over the coming week. Honestly, I think Tesla could rally pretty significantly over the coming week because I believe rates likely fall off, and that was a big headwind for the stock moving into earnings. So I believe we'd likely hold this 212, 211 level and move higher up to almost maybe even 240 this week. It could be a big week for Tesla. So positive on Tesla. And let's take a look at RIOT here. So Bitcoin's moved higher over the weekend, which is definitely a positive for RIOT. RIOT's coming down to test support at around $8.80. This is where shares bottomed out for 3 trading days in a row. It's also where shares bottomed out 3 trading days in a row in early October. It's where shares have bottomed in late September. It's also where shares have bottomed in April. Therefore, I believe we see this level act as support for the stock. And we see shares move higher this week up to resistance at around $10.50. Obviously, this is an underperforming stock. We're fighting some bearish momentum, but I still do think we get a pretty solid bounce this week. And then let's talk about Virgin Galactic. So we've seen this descending trend line act as support over the past couple of months. I called this out a while ago. So this is where shares had bottomed in May. It's also where shares had bottomed in October, where shares had bottomed in April, just talking about this trend line. So we touched this trend line. Those 3 instances moved higher, and we've touched it over the past couple of weeks, and we've held it and continued to move higher. Therefore, I believe this could act as support, and we can see somewhat of a move higher for Virgin Galactic. Will it outperform the market? Probably not. But I do think Virgin Galactic moves higher for the coming week, at least up to prior highs of last week around $1.84. And then for NIO here, another beaten up stock, another underperforming stock. We're coming down to support at around $8.30, which is where shares had bottomed in May of this year. Therefore, I believe we see the stock bottom out at this level once again, and we get a pretty quick move higher up to resistance at around $9.30. That's kind of my price prediction for NIO. Obviously, an underperforming stock. Bearish momentum. We got the 50-day moving below the 200-day moving average on Friday's trading session, known as the death cross, which implies bearish momentum. But I still believe we see a move higher off of this support level. And then for Mara here, Mara is definitely not as clear as of a chart, but because I have a bullish thesis for the general market, I do think this stock likely moves higher anyway. Personally, if you wanted to trade a crypto stock, I'd prefer RIOT, just because they're coming down to test more of a crucial support level. But I believe we can see a move higher up to about $9.40 for the stock for the week. That's kind of the next level of resistance for the stock. Obviously, still an underperforming stock and bearish momentum. We saw the 50-day moving average cross below the 200-day moving average in Friday's trading session, which is known as a death cross and implies bearish momentum. Then for RIVN here, we're coming to the test support at around $15.70, which is where shares had topped out in June. It topped out in May, topped out in April. Past resistance acts as new support. I believe this 1590 level will act as support for RIVN. I know we're not there exactly, but we should be close enough. I think we get a move up to resistance at around $20 for RIVN over this next coming week. this is really the next major level of resistance for the stock, as this is where shares had topped out. Actually, we had bottomed out in August, past support, acts as new resistance. I believe we see that level hit and act as resistance this week. And then NKLA here, we're coming down to test support at around $1.40, which is where shares had bottomed in June of this year. Therefore, I believe we could see somewhat of a bottoming at this level once again this week. I think we bottom here and move up to the 50-day moving average at around $1.30. So underperforming stock, once again, a stock that has bearish momentum. So take that for what you will. Personally, I would rather go into some of the larger cap tech stocks. I think they're kind of set up for a larger move higher, but stocks like this still could get somewhat of a rally this week, and especially given that we're coming down to a major level of support. I believe we hold this level and move higher up to the 50-day moving average for this stock. So covered a lot. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Also, I will link my kind of bullish thesis for this week. I kind of laid it out more fundamentally to this video. So if you're interested kind of from a fundamental standpoint, why I think the stock market could rally this week, check out this video right here. Should be on my screen right now. And I'll see you here next week. Looking to learn more about the financial markets? Well, I just released a new course that will teach you everything you need to know about the stock and option markets. You can find that at happyinvestingtoday.com. Also on the site, you can purchase one-on-one coaching sessions where I will break down your portfolio to help optimize your assets to meet your personal financial goals. Additionally, to better assist traders when searching for setups, I'm selling trading bots, which will give you buy and sell signals and tell you how your trading strategy has performed historically on any stock or cryptocurrency that you're researching. Finally, if you would also like to see what me and my experienced trading team are doing on a day-to-day basis, join our Discord, which is linked below, for a free 7-day trial. With that being said, please leave a like and subscribe. Appreciate you watching this video.